Hello, so I am going to be dealing with something involving the Sinclair Broadcasting Group in this Today I'm Calling stream. Sinclair, you may have heard of, especially if you've seen the Last Week Tonight segment on it, covered by John Oliver. They're a broadcasting group that has slowly, over the past couple of years, snatched up basically every local news station across the country, especially in rural areas, suburban areas, exurban areas. They've bought up all of these networks, and they are sourcing most of the news segments, especially national news segments that these television stations cover. So if you're at home in Berea, Ohio, and you turn on the television, you watch the local news, and there's a segment about national news, it's not something that your news station produced. It's something that was produced by Sinclair Broadcasting. It's a company with a really obvious conservative bent. They have a really long and storied history of cherry-picking facts to benefit a conservative agenda. They only cover issues and topics that serve a conservative agenda. They exclude and elide a lot of issues that are concerns of progressives and liberal people, and they are spoon-feeding a lot of our senior citizens and our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles with conservative talking points and a very thin dribble of cherry-picked facts and sometimes straight-up misinformation. If you haven't seen the John Oliver segment about Sinclair and the way that it's shaped our political discourse in the past couple of years, you absolutely need to watch it because it is really harrowing, and it's something that if you get most of your news from the internet, you may not even be aware of. I wasn't aware of the scope of this. I knew that Fox News and Rush Limbaugh and InfoWars were spreading misinformation, but I didn't realize that information was being misrepresented and that the news agenda was being misconstrued by local news stations on this level. The reason I'm calling today is because Sinclair is looking to expand their influence even further, and they want to buy Tribune Media, which of course provides newspaper coverage here in Chicago and a bunch of other places. They have lots of different papers, both large and small, mainstream kind of newspapers as well as alternate weeklies and things like that. So in order for Sinclair to do this, they would have to bypass a limit that currently exists. There's a restriction on how many stations and how many news outlets you can own as a private company, and the FCC is considering just removing that rule and letting Sinclair buy up even more companies and set the agenda and monopolize the conversation even more than they already have. It's ridiculous, it's really dismaying, it has influenced our political discourse in myriad ways. It helps to give our less informed, less internet astute family members and friends and neighbors this sense of there being one perspective and that everyone is in agreement with them, and it serves to make them more ignorant about progressive issues. They don't learn about police brutality against black people. They don't learn about queer issues. They don't learn about some of the countless horrible things Trump is doing and has done because they aren't covered on these networks. It's a huge issue. So, now that I've given that preamble and that explanation, I am going to dive in and make a phone call about this. The first person I'm going to call is the FCC itself.
For calling the FCC's Consumer Center. Press 1 if you want to report a tower light outage or safety of life issue involving interference. Press 2 if your call concerns an application for a license or the auctioning of frequencies. Press 3 if you are a member of the news media. Press 4 if you'd like to file an informal complaint or have any questions. Press 9 to repeat these options.
Okay, so we're going to hit 4. Okay, I really wanted to show people how to file a comment, so I'm gonna disconnect for now and do that. So let me just flip here. Okay, so here is Rogan's list where I got the action item telling me to contact the FCC about this issue. And here is the, down here, is the link on the FCC website to leave a comment. And this is something I've linked to in the video description. And then here we have the FCC page for all of the comments people have left about this issue. It's a really ugly website. It's hard to know how to navigate, which is why I'm making this video. What you want to do is go to the left-hand side, and you want to click on Express. And this will allow you to leave a brief comment without uploading a document or anything like that. So I'll put my name here. Okay, so we can see here I have filled out the comment field. The proceeding number should be auto-populated. I've put my name, address, and zip code, and then I have written a script with my comments. I'm writing to voice my opposition to the Tribune and Sinclair merger. This merger will result in 70% of local news outlets being owned by a news organization that has a partisan agenda and a record for pushing exactly the kind of alt-right propaganda that is tearing our country apart. Democracy requires an effort to keep the flow of information factual and appropriately checked and vetted. A singular voice and perspective should not dominate what information everyday Americans have access to. Sinclair has a long-standing history of misrepresenting information, cherry-picking facts, and filtering their choice of stories to cover in order to suit a conservative agenda. Please keep the collective American conscience informed, thoughtful, and open-minded. Thank you. And then I'm just going to click Continue to Review Screen and Submit. And it's slow. Okay, and that has been filed. So that is how you leave a comment with the FCC. Call them as well. I think I'm gonna be on hold for a long time. That's okay. Also, it is prudent to call your senators and reps in the House of Representatives about this issue as well. Sinclair Media is this huge shark that is just gobbling up news stations and spitting out absolute garbage and just feeding that garbage to people who don't know how to check the quality of their own information. People who either don't know how to use the internet to do research or don't really have the time and capacity to do that, or who don't care to do that, or just people who have grown up trusting broadcast news their whole lives for decades, which is understandable. Why someone wouldn't understand that they're now being fed propaganda that is highly selected and vetted. So we need to fight this tooth and nail because it has really affected all of our lives and affected the larger American political consciousness. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'll post all of the information you need to deal with this action item in the comments in the video description. Bye.